Hello everyone, thank you for waiting to the end. It's been a really, really interesting day. When I first met Simon, a good while ago now, I didn't know anything at all about servant leadership. And you can probably see that from my PowerPoint that I still don't know very much about servant leadership, but I'm interested in it. And I want to talk to you today about some research that I want to do on it, because I'm already doing some research in LSBM that is part of my PhD. I'm doing the research with LSBM and I'm doing it in Northern Ireland, and I'm going to do it in the public, private and charity sectors. And it's about job engagement, it's about satisfaction at work, and it's about, ultimately, about retention of employees. And that's important because we have people coming and staying a little while in organisations and then off again. And that's expensive for organisations. And that's hard on people as well because they move around. And we have a way of working now that is very different from when I started to work. I've worked in industry for a long time, and I've worked in education for a long time. And I managed to balance the two for a really good career in both, I feel. Now I concentrate more on education because I feel that that's where I am now and that's where I get my most satisfaction. But when I worked in industry, I saw a lot of people who were disengaged. I saw a lot of people come to work every day who were unhappy to be there, clearly in the wrong place, clearly not getting what they needed from the job that they had, and not understanding how they would get themselves out of that situation into another. So the research that I'm going to do is cross-sectional, but it's also qualitative because I like storytelling. Irish, like Cal, and we talk about it. And it's a good thing to do that, and it's good to understand what other people think about the things that you think about. And that's partly what's happened today here, that I've got to know a lot of things that I didn't know before. So I've learned a lot from Simon, I've learned a lot from the speakers, and I've now started to think about education as a context for the development of servant leadership and what that means for the classroom. Because above everything else, and the industry experience that I've had before, and the educational experiences that I've had and my own achievements in education, I'm a teacher. And I'm a teacher because I like to teach, I like to be in the classroom, and anyone I work with here will tell you that that's where I seem to do best, I feel. And it's important for me to understand, is there something in the future with servant leadership that will hang itself onto the PhD that I do, and I think there is something. And I'll try and take you through it, where I think the connections are and where I think they're important and where I think I can build on them if I can. So a little bit of an introduction that talks about my research, my PhD again, a little bit about the classroom as I see it, leaders and lecturers and servants, some closing comments, and then those hateful references and their hard work, we need a tool to do. So I won't take you through everything that's here because it's late and we've got tubes to see to, and I think not much servant leadership there. But it's important for some of these words that we see. Functional attributes that are talked about in the context of servant leadership. What does it mean? It means using these. It means being honest with people. It's developing trustworthiness, having a vision. And that's not easy to do. Having a vision is a hard, hard thing. Realizing that vision, even harder. Being a good role model and appreciating others, those things don't fit together easily. They don't lock together easily. So a lot of people have talked about it now, and I understand that it's something interesting. I understand that it's something I should start to investigate. So I looked for the things that I thought I could attach to education. So encouraging collegiality, teaching, linking to a positive association with followers' attitudes, manifesting in the areas of work engagement, job satisfaction, and organisational commitment. And that's where my PhD lies. So I will do some work, as I say, in LSBM. John's been kind enough to say yes to that. I'll do some work in Northern Ireland, in the private and the public sector, because I'm from Northern Ireland, and I spent a long time there understanding what happened to teaching and people living in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. And there's a big, interesting piece of research that I feel will contribute something to work engagement, job satisfaction, and organisational commitment, and therefore retention in that area. But in London, there's a different type of data to be collected. And in the third sector, in the charity sector, there's good data to be collected there, and I will do that in Northern Ireland as well. Because my sister runs an IT training company, and she recently got an MBE for, as you will all know, got an MBE for the work that she's done. So she is a servant of the community. She is someone who gives her life over to things that are important for her. And we were brought up in a small community where life was disrupted. People call the troubles because they can't think of what else to call them. But they were a big piece of my upbringing and her upbringing, and it's made a difference to our lives. It's made us different. It's made us the people that we are, and I want to see what is coming up and going forward now. So servant leadership, I feel we know what it is. We've just never been able to see it much in practice. And in Northern Ireland, there's lots to be learned still about leaders there and whether they're servant leaders or not. But in education, there's an area to talk about as well. So when I think about what Greenleaf said, when I think about what's out there and the information that's there, my question is, can lecturers in their work in the classroom serve education more effectively if they themselves are positively and fully engaged in their work? Now that question means if you are employed in education, where servant leadership is delivered every day and consistently every day, and you have that influence on you, can you go into a classroom and bring something more there? Well, I don't know the answer to that yet, but I'm going to try and do some more research aligned with my PhD out here somewhere, and I know it feels big already, and it's sort of over here now too, but that's an important question to ask if we're going to ask questions about the future. So I don't know about you, but I worry slightly about us in the world today. And I think a lot of people wonder where we were before and where we're going. So where are we now? And part of my framework and putting together information for the literature review for the work that I've done was asking about what has changed. Why is public sector different from private sector? Why are those two different from third sector? And I started explaining because I thought of my own education and I thought about teachers that I knew, and I said, it didn't used to be like this. It didn't used to be as monitored as it is now. All three seem to be monitored all the time. It didn't used to be that teachers were apart from the community, which we talked about today. So are we asking them to go back to the community again? Where have they gone? I don't feel they've gone anywhere. They've been in the classroom, trying hard. But we've changed. We've changed as people, I feel. But I don't know if we'll find that out. So the research that I want to do will hopefully answer my questions and hopefully inform as research does. So ends and means in servant leadership as well is important to me. Are they compatible, and do we think about them differently now? Will we see more mentoring supported and empowered students? I hope so. Will we see different outcomes? I hope so. Will we see how we do that? I hope so too, because I think we have to pass it on. So my research looks at the elements in education across private, public sectors which influence work engagement, job satisfaction, and of course, as a consequence of that, job retention. Do people stay in organisations? One thing I've heard and remembered for a long time is, do people stay because they meet the people they like? Do they move until they find the group of people they get on with, and then they stop? Or do they just keep on moving now? Is that different? So if we look at the individual internal lives of organisations now, we might see low trust cultures. I think we might. Less empowerment for employees in education, possibly, because a lot of people come into education for that very thing, for autonomy, for empowerment, for being able to choose the subjects that they want to teach, for the things that they're passionate about, for the things that they want to talk about every day, as I do, the things I'm interested in. And I talk in the classroom, and I hope that I give across something that will make the students passionate and interested, and therefore have something for them to hang on to as well. Will there be less personal identification with roles in education? People align themselves with the roles that they take on. Will we see less of that? Possibly. Are there less collaborative efforts? Sometimes. It depends where you are, I think. It depends on in education in the college or school or university that you're in. And I've had good relationships and good colleagues and good groups of people to work with, and I've had some who are very singular, very individual. So I think we need to research to compare within and between organisations. I think we need to have it go this way and this way. And I think we need to look for job resources and personal resources which foster and encourage work engagement. And find out where they are, and who's doing that, how are they doing that, why do they do that, and what are the results they get. And if we get that good data, can we compare it? So I want to try and find that out. Can we look for areas of social support from colleagues and managers? Thank you, Joe. Can we identify talent and positive adoption of technology today? That e-learning, which supports, which helps, which engages as well, which makes minds stretch once students get the hang of it, and lecturers, once they get the hang of it as well. Identify talent and positive adoption of technology, support the build of interpersonal relationships throughout organisations, because we silo now. We tend to not sit and talk and support and help, and in organisations it can be a little bit lonely. So we don't want to take that to the classroom. We don't want to tell students who will be there one day that it's like that, or we don't show them it's like that. We want to show them there's something good out there and they should get that qualification, because it's important that you become involved in academia. Because academia has lots of discussion, lots of answers, lots of good information that people need going forward. So open and honest conversations, interactive levels. So the research that I want to pin on to what I'm doing is going to be based on Brown theory, Strassman Coburn, 1990, an inductive analytical approach, a constructivist paradigm. Sorry, it's been a long day. Qualitative research instruments with semi-structured and free-form interviewing. And I choose that instrument because I like the idea of being able to talk to people and to listen to what it is they've got to say. Hopefully they won't mind me taping them and typing it all up along with the M's and A's. But then I like the analysis as well. And I like deep analysis. I like level after level after level. I'm a meticulous person. And research is good for me because it allows me freedom to go to whatever level I feel I need to. So it's important, I think, that we find this, that we pull it out, take place over the next year in the private and public sector with an opportunity for some cross comparison between the sectors, but also between student and lecturer views. So I haven't actually talked to John about this, but I'm hoping he's okay with it. He's not here now, but I'm hoping he's safe. So coding and analysis to allow theory to emerge from the data, which the theory being grounded in the data, themes and concepts. So servant leadership in education, yes, other people have talked about it. A lot of people here have said some really good and interesting things. And I'm glad that Simon has brought it to LSBM, because I think we practice some of this. I think we're a small college that has had the chance to be able to work together in a very warm and collegiate way. There's no doubt that we have disputes or conversations or very long conversations, but we have support, we have a structure that works well, we have help in the classroom if we need help in the classroom, we have colleagues that we respect, and we respect the students, I feel. I feel that we do the things that other colleges are trying to do as well. So I think there's hope in that. I think there's hope in the future. The servant leadership model supports a shift. I believe that now too, and what I've heard today, and the ideas that people are coming out with. I understand the community link. I think I've seen it before. I think the lecturer-student relationship is important. And I quote Ken Robinson. I don't know if you know Ken Robinson, who wrote Creative Schools this year. He's been on YouTube, he's talked to the government, he's passionate about all types of education. And what he says is, at the most fundamental level, the focus of education has to be on creating the conditions in which students will want to be able to learn. So they have to be somewhere where they can. They have to want to as well. Everything else has to be raised on that basis. The role of teachers is to facilitate students' learning. We've heard some of that today. Along with the above, leaders in educational establishments need to create conditions that will allow teachers to fulfill their roles. So the support that we get inside educational establishments has to be there and in a lot of places, and it needs to be consistent. The role of policymakers is to create conditions at the local, state or national level in which principals and schools can fulfill these responsibilities. And I agree with them. You make up your own mind, but I think we were somewhere good before. I think we concentrated too much on work and trade and organisations and building great big organisations. We need to think again about what it is we want to put out into organisations now. People who want to work, who are committed, who want to align themselves, who want something good in their lives. People who can look for that, find them. So, Covey clarified the role of servant leadership by stating that they ensure the growth of other servant leaders by stating, you don't just serve, you do it in a way that makes them independent of you. You make them capable and want to do what they do. So, do you engage teachers / lecturers, but I think we're all teachers, working in the classroom who have been influenced by the writings of servant leadership, engage students who mirror those same teaching styles and use them in the corporate world, because the corporate world needs it. So let's find out. And I'll bring you back whatever I find out, I'll tell you. All right?